Go ahead. I want to welcome the Minister to the House today, and apologies for being a little bit late. The issue of local government and councillors' conditions is something I've raised consistently over the past few years, and I know several colleagues from all parties and none, but it feels like some form of consensus is there. But what's missing is concrete action on that and set out in a clear timetable. The process so far has been very slow and frustrating, and I know the Minister is aware of this. We do need to be clear that we can't come into this chamber next year and make the same points over again. So I welcome the comments from the Minister that he's committed to getting this sorted urgently. I want to thank Lama, who I know are in the gallery today, and the Local Authority Members Association, as well as the AILG, the Association of Irish Local Government, for their really valuable input on these issues. They represent councillors right across the country and have made it very clear how working conditions and remuneration are badly impacting local representatives and local government. The reality is that since the Local Government Act in 2014, we've seen a serious change in the role of a local councillor. We have a smaller number of elected representatives trying to cover bigger geographic areas, and for many it's just not possible. This is especially true in rural areas with vast constituencies. Councillors do not get a full-time wage, but it's essentially a full-time role. The expectation is there that if a constituent asks for help, then their local representative absolutely needs to be able to respond quickly and appropriately. And I've seen this myself. And so for local reps, if they want to do a job well, then they need to be available as the first port of call for their constituents, particularly vulnerable people who may need help accessing vital services and supports. And ask any councillor in the country or anyone who has served in local government, and they'll know that it's impossible to do this job properly on a part-time basis. Many do it out of hours or by taking unpaid leave, or are lucky enough to have flexible working arrangements, but many do not. And the sad reality is that the system at the moment is squeezing people on lower incomes out of local government. And I've seen so many fantastic councillors, some of them here today, people who represented their local community so well, essentially forced to step away from the role because it wasn't sustainable. This was especially true ahead of the recent local elections, and it badly needs addressing. Now, the Moorhead report was requested in order to examine these issues, but we're all aware it's been hugely delayed. Now, we had a commitment that the relevant material would be published before the local elections in May, but it just didn't happen. This left many councillors unsure of what their job would entail if elected and whether they could actually put themselves forward. I know some of these delays are out of your hands, Minister, but you'll also be aware of the anger, the disappointment, the frustration from local representatives that this was pushed back until after the elections. So I welcome your commitment to publishing the final Moorhead report in the coming weeks, and I urge you to do so. I'm also glad to see the acknowledgement from you, Minister, that councillors are underpaid for their work that they do and the amount of time that goes into the job. And I think we all have consensus on that point. It's been suggested that the issue of remuneration could become part of the public sector pay talks next year, but there will need to be discussion with the Department of Public Expenditure on this. So I wanted to ask you, Minister, is there a commitment in principle from the Minister for Finance and from the Taoiseach that this will be prioritised? I recognise the commitment from you, Minister, to make that request, but can we expect collective support from government? Ultimately, we need to make a decision as to what role we want for local councillors and local government. Will this be an inclusive position available to all? We're currently stuck between two poles. It's not a voluntary position with a low level of commitment, and it's not a full-time position with the resources available to do it properly. All the councillors I know say the same thing. No one takes up the role for high-earning career. They just want it to be feasible and sustainable to be involved in local government. So I urge you, Minister, again, to publish the Moorhead report in full and to support a move to real, sustainable, full-time pay. Gormila Mahaga.